Good evening, Ananda. We welcome you all to the international webinar series on holistic health, well-being, and sustainable development 2025, commemorating Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, nation celebrating 78 years of independence, and United Nations Sustainable Development Goals 2015 to 2030 as part of awareness and campaigns, and also commemorating Viksit Bharat at 2047 as part of awareness and campaigns in collaboration with Sri Holistic Health Foundation India and Sri Research Institute Center for Art, Sciences and Wellbeing. Before we start our sessions, let's take the blessings of Almighty.
कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शुभं कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शत्रुबुद्धिविनाशाय दीपज्योतिर्नमोऽस्तुते दीपज्योतिर्नमोऽस्तुते शुभं कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शुभं कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः
With the blessings of Almighty, we shall continue with today's commemorations. Today, we are commemorating and celebrating International Day for South-to-South Cooperation on 12th September. New opportunities and innovation through South and South Triangular Cooperation as we move past the halfway point of 2030 agenda and take stock post-summit of the future 2024. We note that the world is still grappling with deep interconnected challenges. Climate change, debut burdens, food insecurity, and widening digit gaps continue to affect millions. More than 650 million people remain in extreme poverty. Many countries are spending more on debt repayments than on basic public services. In the face of these hurdles, South-South and Triangular Cooperation are offering practical ways forward. Built on mutual support and shared experiences, these partnerships provide real-world, locally grounded solutions that complement traditional development aid. This year's theme, New Opportunities and Innovation through South-South Triangular Cooperation, calls for turning promises into progress. It highlights the growing role of the Global South in tackling shared problems, from strengthening health systems and adapting to climate change to driving digital innovation and sustainable finance. These forms of cooperation bring countries together to exchange knowledge, scale what works, and build more inclusive partnerships. By tapping into this collective strength, we can move faster towards sustainable development goals and build a more just, sustainable future for everyone. And the Global Report on South-South and Triangular Cooperation 2025, Bridging Horizons and Continents, Forging Transformational Pathways in South-South and Triangular Cooperation by the United Nations Office for South-South Cooperation, UNOSSE, represents a significant milestone as a third edition in the series that has become an essential resource for understanding the evolving dynamics of cooperation among countries of the Global South. It arrives at a juncture of profound global transitions. Key priorities for South-South cooperation in 2025. Sustainable financing is essential. Countries are calling for more stable long-term funding for South-South and Triangular Cooperation, including smarter tools such as blended finance and debt swaps, a platform for resilience and innovation. South-South and Triangular partnerships offer grounded, flexible solutions that help countries tackle today's overlapping crises together, driving the SDGs and global vision. These forms of cooperation are key to making real progress on the Sustainable Development Goals and delivering on the promise of a fairer, more sustainable world. The Global South as a development leader, the Global South brings valuable ideas, leadership, and local know-how to the table and is shaping the future of development through regional solidarity and shared experience, tools for action and scale, platforms like South South Galaxy and the New Solutions Lab are helping countries connect, learn, and scale up solutions that work. Ahead of the 80th UN General Assembly, the UN Day for the South-South Cooperation celebrates progress in South-South and triangular cooperation, building on the decisions on the 22nd High-Level Committee session. The event gathers key figures, including the UN Secretary General, the General Assembly, President, UNDP leadership, diplomats, and partners. So, what is South-South cooperation and why does it matter? So, South-South cooperation is a collaborative approach among developing countries built on mutual respect, shared goals, and a deep sense of solidarity. Unlike traditional aid models, it's not about one side giving, other receiving. It's about countries working together to solve common challenges by exchanging knowledge, skills, and technology. It's voluntary, driven by the priorities of the countries involved and free from conditions. While it doesn't replace North-South cooperation, it complements it, drawing in governments, regional groups, civil society, academia, and the private sector through a flexible and inclusive model. So this approach took shape in 1978 when 138 UN member states adopted the Buenos Aires Plan of Action, in short known as BAPA. It was a turning point for the Global South, offering a path towards greater self-determination and collaboration outside dominant systems of the time. BAPA laid out principles like equality, non-interference, and mutual benefit and called for practical structures, legal frameworks, financing mechanisms, and shared tools to make cooperation sustainable. Over time, the model expanded, included triangular cooperation, where a developed country or international organization helps enable exchange between two South partners, bridging resources with local know-how. Today, South-South cooperation is more than a framework. It's a growing force behind sustainable development. The Global South now drives over half of the world's economic growth, fuels expanding trade and investment, and leads countless innovative initiatives, from Cuban doctors responding to Ebola in the West Africa to Colombian experts sharing strategies to fight hunger. These partnerships are solving real world problems and reshaping what development looks like. As UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres put it, the world can't achieve the 2030 agenda without the energy, ideas, and leadership of the South. Together, countries aren't just helping each other, they are building a more just and sustainable future. So, objectives of the South South cooperation: build self reliance by empowering developing countries to craft solutions aligned with their values and needs, strengthen collective self service through shared experiences, pooled resources, and complementary capabilities, improve joint capacity to identify key development challenges and design strategies to address them, expand and enhance development cooperation by pooling capacities to use resources more effectively, develop and upgrade technological capabilities to better use, observe, and adapt technology and skills, boost communicative boost communication to widen access to knowledge, share experience, and generate new solutions, prioritize and address the specific needs of least developed countries, LDCs, landlocked developing countries, LLDCs, small island developing states, SIDs, and crisis affected countries, increasing developing countries' participation in global economic activity and broader international cooperation. The United Nations Office for South-South Cooperation was created in 1974 to promote, coordinate, and support South-South and triangular cooperation globally and within the United Nations system. The office works to support countries' efforts to manage, design, and implement South-South cooperation policies and initiatives through the identification, sharing, and transfer of successful Southern generated development solutions. The South South Galaxy is a global knowledge sharing and partnership platform launched in 2019. The project aims to give systematic and effective support to countries of the South so that they can connect, learn, and collaborate with potential partners in the wider digital world. When we look at the history of South South cooperation, the world has undergone a major economic and political transformation in the last 2 decades. The changes, particularly in the South, have been more rapid than at any time during a similar span in the world history. Relationships within the South and between the South and the North have taken on entirely new dimensions. Key current issues such as environment and climate change, energy and food security, global poverty, the linkage between growth and equity, and migration are today more global than North South in nature. Many countries in the South have built up significant financial and technical capacities. They have begun to transfer some of these resources on concessional and non concessional terms to other countries in the South in the context of an inclusive approach to the management of global problems, spreading the benefits of globalization more widely, creating new markets, and building a broader foundation for sustainable economic growth. All these efforts were reaffirmed and extended with the adoption of 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development by the UN General Assembly. The UN history of South-South cooperation dates back to 1949 with the establishment of the first UN Technical Aid Program by the Economic and Social Council and the creation of the United Nations Development Program, UNDP, in 1965. In 1974, the United Nations General Assembly endorsed the establishment of special unit with, within the United Nations Development Program, UNDP, to promote technical cooperation among developing countries. The special unit would become the United Nations Office for South-South Cooperation, in short known as UNOSSC. The main office tasked to coordinate South-South and triangular cooperation globally and within the UN system. In 1978, the conference at the Global South on TCDC was held in Buenos Aires, resulting in the adoption the Buenos Aires Plan of Action (BAPA) for promoting and implementing technical cooperation among developing countries. TCDC, one of the main pillars for South-South cooperation, with the endorsement in a special unit, was strengthened in order to fulfill its primary mandate. Set forth in BAPA finally in 2013, this unit would be renamed the United Nations Office for South-South Cooperation, UNOSSC, as we know it today. Another milestone was set in 2009 during the high-level UN Conference on South-South Cooperation held in Nairobi, Kenya. At this conference, participants produced the Nairobi Outcome Document, highlighting the roles the national governments, regional entities, and the UN agencies have to play in supporting and implementing South-South and triangular cooperation. After the adoption of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development in 2015, the General Assembly convened in 2019 the second high-level United Nations Conference on South-South Cooperation, BAPA, plus 40 on the occasion of the 40th anniversary of the adoption of the Buenos Aires Plan of Action. At this event, world leaders adopted an outcome document urging even greater South-South cooperation towards achieving sustainable development. Today, we are also commemorating Heritage Open Days. From September 12th to 21st in UK, United Kingdom. Heritage Open Days are observed on certain dates in September every year and takes place from September 12th to 21st this year. So this is a celebration of England's rich culture and history and encourages everyone to learn more about it. It is the country's largest festival that brings together over 2,500 organizations every year. During this observation, the doors of historical monuments and buildings, which are usually closed, are left open to the public. This day brings people closer as the public, private, and voluntary sectors come together to plan a day filled with education and fun. Every year, the date of observation is announced and new activities and events are planned. Although the date differs from year to year, the celebration is usually 10 days long in September. The history of the Heritage Open Days can be traced back to 1994, when England participated in the European Heritage Days along with 49 other countries. European Heritage Days is a collaborative initiative of the Council of Europe and the European Commission that brings together all 50 signatory nations of the European Cultural Convention. The annual program allows visitors to view buildings, monuments, and locations that are not usually open to the public. Its goal is to increase accessibility while also encouraging the preservation of architectural and natural heritage. In English speaking countries, these celebrations are also known as Doors Open Days and Open Doors Days. Similarly, Heritage Open Days is an annual celebration of England's architecture and culture that gives people free access to historical buildings that are either not ordinarily open to the public, require an entrance fee, or are always free and open to the public. It also comprises architectural and cultural excursions, events, and activities. The celebration ropes in 2,500 organizations, 5,000 events, and 40,000 volunteers every year. Heritage Open Days are one of England's largest cultural events, attracting over 8 lakh people each year. This special event is organized by volunteers, typically property owners or managers. Heritage Open Days do not encompass the entire United Kingdom. It only operates in England, except for London, which has a separate event called Open House London that following weekend, generally in the third weekend in September. The first ever Heritage Open Days were held in September 2018. Today is also commemorated as National Chocolate Milkshake Day. Is without a doubt a treat day. Simple, sweet, and delectable chocolate milkshakes aren't just one of the best treats of all time. They are also a reminder of our innocence and a symbol of pastime. A time when getting a milkshake and fries was a perfect date, and drive-in movies were all the rage. So put a quarter in the jukebox, join us, and say cheers to the best fusion since peanut butter and jelly, which was invented in 1901. Today is also commemorated as National Day of Encouragement on September 12th every year in US. It is dedicated this to encouraging and having a positive impact on those around us. And the best thing about the day is that you can make someone happy by simply saying a few words of encouragement. Your words have the power to lift someone when they are down. They also have the power to motivate someone might be struggling, to encourage someone to pick themselves back up. A setback, a small act of encouragement could be the spark that changes one's perspective. To praise and encourage someone's efforts is a praise worth having, no matter the day of the year. In 2007, a group of young people at the National Leadership Forum at Harding University in Searcy, Arkansas came up with the idea of the encouragement project. The group went on to start a celebration which they called the National Day of Encouragement. This was a result of a grim reality. These young people saw a lack of encouragement as one of the main obstacles that youth face. They recognized the urgent need to help each other overcome negative influences. Since the day before September 12th is such a tragic day in American history, National Day of Encouragement that was also seen as a day where people across the country could get together and support each other through the grief of the 9 by 11 terrorist attacks. September 12th is therefore all observed as a day of honor to the victims of those who continue to be affected by mindless bigotry. Following the day's creation, the first official to issue a proclamation when Belinda LaForce, she was the then mayor of Cersei. The day was recognized on August 22nd, 2007, and the celebrations were observed on September 12th, the very year. Soon afterward, Arkansas Governor Mike Beebe issued proclamation designating September 12th as a state day of encouragement. President George W. Bush signed this document in 2007 designating the day as a National Day of Encouragement. A Senate resolution for the day was introduced by Arkansas Senator Mark Pryor and was passed by unanimous consent on September 13, 2011. Needless to say, National Day of Encouragement holds significance for all Americans. Today is also commemorated as National Report Medicare Fraud Day in US, which is observed on September 12th each year. The Hess firm LLC has created a specific website dedicated to educating Americans on the types of medical fraud out there, as well as equipping them with the ways to detect and report these frauds. The purpose of this day is twofold: to help whistleblowers follow proper protocol in order to ensure that government investigates the fraud and to reward whistleblowers for their service. We all face fraud to some kind or the other at least once in our lifetime. In the US, particularly, 10% of the Medicare funds are lost due to fraud. In reality, that is no small amount of money, roughly $65 billion each year, precipitating a healthcare crisis in the states. So, National Report Medicare Fraud Day was founded in 2017 by the Hess Firm LLC. The day came to be after founding attorney Joel D. Hess spent over 15 years working in the Department of Justice Whistleblower Reward Office. He now exclusively represents whistleblowers across the country in filing for cases and reporting instances of fraud. To help whistleblowers properly report medical care fraud or Medicare fraud, Joel D. Hess wrote a free book and created a website to ensure that everyone knows how to correctly report Medicare fraud and take the necessary steps to be eligible for the reward. You can visit www.reportmedicarefraudday.com to know more about that initiative. Medicare fraud can be reported in two different ways, and each way provides very different results. The first one is to blow the whistle under the Department of Justice Reward Program, which pays 15 to 25% of the amount of Department of Justice recovers. The average DOJ award for reporting Medicare fraud is $690,000, while some have even claimed rewards as high as $150 million. If you report fraud under Department of Justice program, the government is compelled to open an investigation and keep you updated on the progress. Presently, DOJ whistleblowers constitute 3/4 of the government's Medicare fraud reward cases. Thus, the government actually depends on the whistleblowers to bring Medicare fraud cases to their notice and receive a reward in return. The second way to report Medicare fraud is directly to the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, in short known as CMS. CMS runs the Medicare program. Fraud can be reported to the CMS through its website or by calling its hotline. Today is also commemorated as National Police Women Day in US, which is celebrated each year on September 12th. The day acknowledges and celebrates the contribution of female police officers who enforce law and order around the country. Today, only roughly 10% of the police force in the United States is made up of women. National Police Women Day hopes to rectify that by encouraging more women to join the service. Campaigns and events are organized to urge more women to take up law enforcement roles. Along with expressing gratitude to these officers, the day also hopes for a future where law enforcement bodies will have stronger female representation. Women empowerment is related to women education. There are many scholarships around the world for women, Scholarly and various other sites have list of top women scholarships that young girls can choose their career path. The first policewoman in the United States was most likely the Mary Owens. She was hired by the Chicago Police Department in 1891. Although police matrons were not a rare sight in the prisons in New York City prior to this, they lacked the authority to arrest as Owens did. Alice Wells was hired by the Los Angeles Police Department in 1910 and was the first American-born woman police officer in the United States. Unlike Wells, Owens had been born in Canada. In 1854, the first police matrons were hired by the New York City to search and guard female prisoners, but they were civilians with no law enforcement authority. The role became quite popular among women, and many started applying for similar positions in various parts of the United States. In 1990, the Los Angeles Police Department appointed the first regularly rated policeman. Alice Wells, before her matrons were seen as a masculine, not very bright. Wells was a college graduate, a social worker, and had deliberately sought the position of a police officer. She soon became a pioneer in the national movement to have police department hire women as officers. However, that they did not really happen, and women were hired by quotas. This means that regularly faced discrimination, silent contempt, sexism at the workplace, and the double standard. Several court cases were fought to reach equality of employment in police agencies. Cases such as Shripser v. Lang, Wells v. Civil Service Commission, and the Joni Rossi case in Pennsylvania were the landmark ones. The most far-reaching case was the August 1971 class action suit brought by Wagner Hardy against the City of Oakland Civil Service Board, which demanded a civil service classification for police officers with the Oakland Police Department that would be open to men and women on all equal basis. Today, policewomen are involved in all aspects of police work. Today is also commemorated as National Video Game Day on September 12th in US. No reason to feel bad about not even seeing the light of the day on September 12th because it's National Video Game Day and video games originated around 1940. But today the video game industry is an $18 billion industry that constantly churns out the new fun favorites for all ages. The term video game encompasses all kinds of digital games from old school Mario games to hot new VR ones like Beat Saber and so on. The huge array of video games means there will be something for everyone to play today, whether it's an old arcade game or Fortnite. If a day alone doesn't appeal to you, round up some friends for a multiplayer game. These days, everyone can find a video game that gets them hooked. Not only does it depend on the game's play style, you like strategy or combat, you might have a particular penchant for games from a specific age. Some love old timely arcade games while others are excited by cutting edge VR. Surprisingly, the original story of the favorite video game app in your pocket is actually in research labs. The earliest video games began in 1950s in universities like the University of Cambridge and MIT. Some games that come out of these were virtual tic-tac-toe and Space War. When the first home console designed in 1961 by the father of video games, Ralph Baer, hit the market, it inspired the classic utter game Pong. Though there was a copyright infringement lawsuit, Atari still took off with the public when they released the Atari 2600. Some of the best games of the ensuing era include Space Invaders and Donkey Kong. Sound familiar? After the video game market crash in 1983, Japanese company Nintendo burst onto the scene. Nintendo is responsible for some of the most important franchises around Super Mario Bros., The Legend of Zelda, and the Metroid. Nintendo found a challenger in Sega, driving the market into 3D gaming world. The modern era of gaming was truly kicked off in the early 21st century with the Xbox 360, PlayStation 3, and the Wii video games then invaded media platforms and video game apps flooded the app stores. Lucrative competitions for skilled gamers have begun to spring up worldwide. These days, with video games console companies like Nintendo, Sony, and Microsoft have their sights set on VR. The exciting future of video gaming gets more and more lifelike every day. Today is also commemorated as Stand Up to Cancer Day internationally on every second Friday of September. On September 12th this year, it is a day for creating cancer awareness. It is also a time to support the fight against cancer using various means. The day has been observed since 2008 and it has helped to gather massive support for researchers and scientists. So, Stand Up to Cancer Day, also known as National Stand Up to Cancer Day, was created out of goodwill to join the fight against cancer, and it is a day on which we spread awareness concerning cancer. It is also a call to action. Donations are encouraged on this special day. The money is used primarily to help advance cancer research. Researchers from around the world are encouraged to collaborate in the fight against cancer. Also, there are over 170 countries that observe this special day. Cancer is one of the leading causes of death nowadays, but it was discovered long ago. Writings about cancer were found in ancient Egyptian manuscripts dating back to 3000 BC. Although the word cancer was not used in the manuscripts, they are very good description of what we are today known as cancer. It was Greek physician Hippocrates, also known as the father of medicine in the West, who called the disease by the name karkinos, which means crab in Greek. Since then, researchers have taken this time to study the disease carefully. Stand Up to Cancer Day has been chosen to help raise awareness about the disease. It is a day to evaluate the consequence of cancer in our society. Through the help of telecast and celebrity appearances, funds are raised for cancer research. The program was conceived and formed on May 27, 2008 by some women who were affected by the cancer. Over 100 million was raised after the initial television broadcast. So with this, we shall end today's commemorations. Thank you everyone for joining us. Take care. Good night. We request everyone to quickly fill up the registration form as well as the feedback form which has been raised in the form of polls. So see you all tomorrow. Take care. Good night.